Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast episode will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, please do not continue to watch or listen until you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today, for the last week of May, we are covering a recent movie for once called Imaginary.
Recent-ish by now.
Well, yeah, that's true. We recently saw it in theaters, so. But before but before we go into the review, let's grab our cups and talk about tea. So, today I am changing things up, and if you want to try... Oh, you forgot to...
I forgot it.
It's fine. We'll figure it out later. If you want to try some good old, matcha tea, Matcha Moon, definitely recommend. I have the super ceremonial grade, but honestly, I don't know if there's a big difference between, because there's this one and one other kind that they make. There's 3 different kinds. There's a black one that's super superior, this one that's kind of in the middle, and then a lower grade one. I can't really tell between this one and the super expensive one. But anyways, it's just got matcha in it, and it's nice. It's real nice.
And I made a boo-boo and forgot to bring the container here, but I know I am drinking the Republic of Tea's
Brain Boost.
Brain Boost? Yes, it is the Brain Boost one. Thank you. I need to start drinking it now.
She needs to boost her brain.
I need to boost my brain. But I know it has Japanese matcha, green tea, and wild berry and ginkgo. I don't know what else it has in it.
I think that about covers it.
Those are the main things.
Yep.
Close enough.
Yep.
I'm going to start drinking it as soon as it cools down.
But thank you to the Republic of Tea for allowing us to continue to do what we love. And for our tea sippers out there, brew yourself a cup of tea, sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy the review. And so for the summary of Imaginary, I forgot to write one down before we started recording.
We're off to a great start.
So,
this is fine.
This family, or the step mom becomes part of a new family, and they were living in their apartment, and the family got large enough that they're okay, we'll go ahead and something happened with her father where he's in an assisted living community, and so they decided to move to her childhood home. And pretty much right when they move in, weird stuff starts happening. There's weird drawings, and the little bear seems to
be at the center of it all.
Yes, at the center of it all. Yes. But yeah, for entertainment.
We're off to a great start.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit more concise once the
This will be fine. This is our first one of the day. It'll be fine.
Yes. First of
Got to get back
8.
into the swing of it.
Yep.
We're fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
So entertainment, it's I really do enjoy this movie, and me and Jess had a really good time in the theater. There were some parts we were laughing at. There were parts that we're both freaking out at. It was just a good old time. And it was funny because there's a part where it's just us two and then 2 girls behind us. And there's a scene where the guy goes to the bathroom and he just wipes his hand on a towel without washing them. And
gross.
we all simultaneously are ugh!
And he peed all over the seat and the floor, and he didn't clean it up.
Yeah. I mean, I know something scary was happening in that moment, so he's distracted, but still, have some manners.
You're in someone else's home. That's just rude and disgusting. Just saying.
Yeah, so that was...
Grub.
Grub?
Yes, he is a grub.
Oh.
I've watched way too much Bluey. I'm sorry.
So personally, for entertainment, like I said, this is an enjoyable movie and definitely way more enjoyable as a theater experience. But there are some flaws that kind of stick out. So I personally rate this a 7.25. Like it's not a go-to movie for me, but it's a good movie that like I definitely wouldn't be mad about watching. So I like the fact that they do a good job establishing the characters at the beginning. But my one thing, like I understand that the teen is going through a lot because her mom is struggling through mental health issues that kind of coincided with some like abuse that was kind of happening with the kids. And then, you know, bringing in this new like step parent, like and then moving around, like I understand it was a stressful situation, but I feel like it's such a cliche to have a teenager that's like, you're not my real mom, and then like, this is our thing, and it's just like, I don't know, I'm just kind of over the whole like stuck up teenager thing. I want them to, not all teenagers are like that. It's like, yes, they're hormonal,
it feels
they're
like
going through a lot of shit,
added drama.
Yeah.
When there's enough. There was already enough.
But it's like they don't need, like she doesn't need, they don't even have to have a teenager that's like happy about the situation or happy-go-lucky. Just have her be like, okay.
A normal person that's confused about what's going on and concerned for her sister.
Yeah, like have her be like persnickety about like certain things. But then other than that, be like a normal person. I don't know. Anyway, that's my one critique. But as far as, like, the stepmom, like, the dynamic with that, the dad really wasn't too much in the picture.
Yeah, he went on, like, a business trip or something almost immediately after they moved there.
Yeah, so you don't really get a lot from him. But the stepmom is definitely the strongest character. The kid, if it wasn't for the imaginary friend, she would have some, like, good, like, variation. But the fact that makes it an imaginary friend kind of, like... Because it's like, you know, if you think of it as like, oh, she's going through trauma, you're like, wow, this kid is like going through a lot. Well, she is. But the fact that they like were like, oh, her trauma equals imaginary friend. But,
I mean, that's fairly typical, though. Well,
yeah, sorry. So just to like come back around that, what I mean is the fact that the imaginary friend was an actual entity, I feel like took away from her character dynamic in a way. But anyways, but most of the time the scares do have like pretty good creep factor. Like the figures in the background, like they fairly decent about like subtle scares.
Especially the humanoid one.
Yes.
God, or the spider thing.
Yeah.
Not okay.
But I will say sometimes they are kind of funny. Like the ball on the stairs that had the sad face. Like, why? Like, I hope to God that they were actually trying to make it funny, because I don't see however way they wanted to make the audience feel.
Or what about the murder bear?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. But I will say, like, talking about the humanoid figures, though, it didn't go anywhere. So I feel like the movie does have that like major flaw. Like I was excited to figure out like, what are these humanoid things? Like, are they like previous souls that the imaginary friend took, or
is that its true form? Yeah,
or is that its true form? But no, like once they go into the imaginary land, don't bring up the humanoid things at all. Just simply use them for the scares. And I feel like that was a window of opportunity that they completely missed. I was a little bit questionable on why the neighbor guy was so into the girl when she was 15, and he definitely was older, but it's like I could see it either way because I don't know how much older he was.
I don't think he was too much older.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know about you, but I remember as a teenager, like each grade, whenever I looked back on like the freshman or sophomore, they looked like babies to me, and I really didn't have any interest in interacting with them.
Not beyond like friendship.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's that weird thing when, like, as you move up grades as a kid or young adult,
They just seem so much more mature.
yeah, it's like you feel much more
Yeah.
mature, and looking back, you're just like, oh, what, like, why are they
You're
like
a tiny
this?
baby.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just that thing. I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I completely buy that.
I could. He was a horny teen. He was a skeevy dude.
But I did find it funny when his mom called him out. It's like, that's
Yes.
my allergy medicine.
This is allergy medicine.
Yeah. That's pretty great.
So he's also an idiot.
Yeah.
Which we could definitely tell that, but still.
Yeah. But like, aside from them like not expanding on the humanoid characters, figures, the thing that really knocked this movie down in rating for me is the amount of exposition that they added. Like, specifically, like, the therapist, and then also the neighbor, when it's like, as they're doing the ritual, she is explaining, like, everything. It's like, shut up.
She
We
literally could
know
have
what's
found
going
out
on.
a lot of this online.
Yeah. But it's just like, they're explaining, like, once they get closer to where there's a lot of like lore, they're just explaining everything. It's like, leave some of it up to the audience to figure out. Like, please, we don't need to be spoon fed this lore.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like, that was getting like really annoying to me, and it kind of like took me out of the movie because I was just like, shut up. I know. But I will say I like the fact that they mostly use practical effects.
Yes.
So I think that did really help the movie with the scares and things like that. But yeah, the bug guys were more funny than scary.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure they're like, oh, it's kind of like the spider, but it's like, no, that's not.
They could have even done that better.
Yeah.
Because if they really wanted to make it like the spider, then they should have made it like multiple tiny red things, like the actual spider thing that they had shown 3 or 4 times before.
Yeah. But that's what I got for entertainment.
Yeah. I felt a little called out by this movie because the main character's name is Jessica, like me, and the stepdaughter that was going through a lot of this is named Alice, like my daughter. Yes, this is her teddy bear, which I don't know if I'm going to give it back after watching this movie. Felt a little cold out there. But it is, for the most part, fairly entertaining. There were definitely some missed opportunities. I definitely have some questions, and I wish that they didn't do quite as much exposition and focus more on developing the lore naturally.
Yes.
Instead of using a freaking crowbar.
Yeah, like, show us, don't tell us.
To shove a whole bunch of exposition and stuff in there. Because what took like 10 to 15 minutes of explanation could have been like 2 to 3 minute internet search. Just saying. It did seem like some forced drama that the teen was acting out the way she was, and it seemed so cliche and typical and just so overdone. Like, it really didn't need to be like that. There were several things that just took me out of the movie experience for the realism. We'll get to that later, obviously. But there were some moments of decent scares and just general uncomfortable scenes and concern for the characters. They do make you care about at least a couple of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was good. And they had a couple of laughable scenes and some humor in it, which was nice as well. So the scene where the therapist asks the stepmom, has she taken up any hobbies lately? Like, ventriloquism or anything?
Yeah, I actually put that into realism because I'm like, what a realistic reaction. Like, most realistic therapist reaction in a horror movie ever.
Yeah. She taken up any hobbies lately? That's great.
And then and how she's like she's so white and she's just like shaking, like she is obviously very concerned.
Something messed up here. Oh, she gonna need all the therapy. Book a few more sessions with me, please. Also, the teenager likening the entity to Bing Bong from Inside Out. Like, every time she kept referring... Did you not catch that?
No, I just thought, I'm like, how stupid. Like, why does she keep saying Bing Bong? Oh, that makes more sense.
Yes! She's talking about Bing Bong from Inside Out, the
I've
imaginary
only watched that
friend.
movie once, so...
What is wrong with you? Who hurt you?
Oh my god.
It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
It's a treasure of a movie.
Yeah, it's good.
God. It's like I don't even know you. And especially the end part where they see a teddy bear with a kid and the little girl goes, should we try the next hotel?
Yeah, this movie has some decent humor.
Yes. Wonderful. Absolutely. So all in all, I give it a 7. I would give it higher, but with the shoehorned in with a crowbar exposition and the missed opportunities, and I really feel like, especially with the murder bear, less is more. The less you show of the big bad thing, the more scary it becomes. Especially if you do like just off, like just out of view kind of things. Like when they had it in the background kind of blurry, like the humanoid figures and things. That was super freaky.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really well done. And a lot of those times they also had no kind of change in music or anything. It was just there.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Mm-hmm.
So they did some things really, really well, but other things, like the murder bear, I'm sorry.
Or like the lights going around and they're like ding, 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 ding. It's like...
That one was
like,
okay.
I like the effort and the thought. Like, it was an interesting scene, but
it's also been done before.
Yeah, and the type of music that they decided, like, I know they like are like, you know, almost like Insidious, where it's like toe through the tulips.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let's have like a happy song and make it creepy, but it just didn't quite hit.
If you want to do something like that, then keep the song through the movie like you did, maybe a little bit more. But in a scene like that, have it just a half step down into like a minor key. So it sounds just off enough.
Or like be more warped or like...
Do half step, but also like vary the tempo a little. So it's just kind of all around messed up. Like something is wrong.
Like, when it's gonna come.
Yes. Like something is wrong with this. But I really couldn't take the murder bear seriously. I couldn't. It was decent when the lights were going and it showed up there and then there was just silence and darkness.
Yeah, that was
good.
That was creepy.
But then it stayed. And we just kept watching her watching it.
Yeah,
and trying to get the outlet in there. It's like, okay, well...
So you can stop now.
Now it's no longer scary. It was more of a startle, but still, it was a well done.
It's kind of like when you do a joke and people laugh and you keep going and then it stops being funny.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the exact same thing.
Took it just a little far.
Yeah.
So, that's what I had for entertainment. All of these people need therapy after this, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All the therapy. Also, good luck getting money back from the insurance and explaining it to the husband.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So for realism, I gave it a 3, and I'm like, do I believe this 3? Is this a true 3? Anyways, so while I found it stereotypical to have the stepdaughter like hostile towards the stepmom, it is realistic.
That is one reaction, yeah.
And once being a teenager myself and my mom going through a dating scene, I was very well known to be hostile. So I gotta say that it was realistic. The guy wiping the hands on the towel, as disgusting as it was, guys are gross. Sorry, any men watching. Do better, please. If you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, then...
No, not all men.
Yes, not all guys are the same. I'm sure there are, well...
Jesus.
I know there are women that don't wash their hands and are gross, too. People are gross. Just in general,
yes.
People are gross. So people, everyone out there... Even our non-binary friends, be less gross. Think about hygiene.
Basic hygiene. This is basic hygiene stuff.
Yes. Everyone needs to be less gross.
Please. Please.
And then, so I don't know if I couldn't decide whether to put this in realism or entertainment, but the fact that, like, they had active scares with Chauncey the bear, but then later on they're like, oh, he's actually not visible. Only like the stepmom and the
that was
daughter.
Decent.
Like, well, like that breaks the scare, like with the guy, with him seeing the bear.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like, then what, like if he didn't see her holding a bear, then what would be scary or like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like.
Yeah, they had some holes.
Yeah, there's some holes there. Yeah, I wrote the therapist asking about ventriloquism. Yeah. Real. Yep. Believable.
I did kind of like their therapy session itself, though. Like, it wasn't the stereotypical movie bullshit of, how do you feel about that? It was more, what's going on? Well, friends shouldn't tell you to hurt themselves. Like, they shouldn't be asking you to do things that scare you. That's not okay, even if they're friends.
Yeah.
And then when she thinks the kid is start saying, you know, nobody loves Alice, all these things. She's like, let's explore these feelings.
Yeah. I really did like that.
Let's explore why you're feeling these things toward your stepmom, too. Like, why do you think this? And trying to get to the bottom of it. And then we get the freak out scene of...
Yeah, but I do, to your point, though, I did like the talking about, like, friends shouldn't make you feel scared. Because I feel like, especially, like, kids and friendships, kids are, like, exploring each other's boundaries. Yes. And they're seeing, like, what is and is not okay. Because I remember, I don't know if you had any friends with it like this. I tend to get bullied by people, so maybe it was because I was like an easy target, but it's like my friends would often like do things that I really didn't like, but I was like, oh, but they're my friend. Like I
feel like every kid goes through that at some point.
Yeah, it's like I take it to the fact that, like, you know, kids are just trying to figure out like what's actually okay. And I think it's more like having kids be more like verbal about, hey, I don't like that, or, you know, but anyways, rabbit hole. But I will say the therapist showing the video of the kid, that's 100% a HIPAA violation.
Yes, it is. I'm glad you said it. And
you're not supposed to do that.
Yep, nope. I'm just going to break
My
HIPAA
mom's
laws
a counselor.
willy-nilly.
I know these things. I think it
doesn't matter if the kid went missing and is still missing. It's still a HIPAA violation.
Oh, yeah. And then whenever the stepmom, I wish I could, Jessica, duh. Whenever Jessica is like repainting over the walls to see like what she did as a kid, the paint swipe on her forehead was so deliberately put there. I put it as a part of like, that's not realistic, because it literally looks like they're like, okay, dip my thumb in paint, and then it didn't look or like an organic, like accidentally.
It wasn't like
white.
a, kind of thing. It was like a paintbrush.
It was so obvious. I was like, no, like I would have rather you not even put that on there, because otherwise it was distracting. And then
that wasn't the only thing, but keep going.
Yeah. And then I mean, this was in the imaginary land, so I mean, maybe I don't know how physics works there, but why did the happy smiley ball just so happen to have blue paint on the inside? Like, that just seemed like really random.
It was a movie's got a movie moment.
Yeah, 100%. But
they were just trying to find anything blue.
Yeah. And then the only other thing, and I mean, this is more inadvisable, more than maybe unrealistic, but the dad just like yeeting off on a business trip and leaving the stepmom when they had just moved there and the kids were just adjusting. Like, it's like, obviously you have work, and if you have a work trip, you have to do it. But then it's like, maybe if they had more wiggle room to do the move out date, I don't know. I thought that was more of a like, come on, Dad. You could have done better. Or done something more. I don't know.
I mean, I can get that. Especially where business or work is concerned, like you can't always postpone a business trip or anything like that.
Now that I remember, he was asking if she was okay with him going. Like, he was saying, oh, I don't have to go if you want me to stay. I'm just... Yeah, it's when he was walking to the car, like, he was making it sound like it was like... because it's like a band trip or something like that. Man, now we'll have to rewatch that scene, because I swear
you could be right. And if so, then what the hell, dude?
Yeah, if you didn't actually have to go, he should have stayed. No matter what she said, think about your daughters and the situation that you put them in.
That's a lot of change in a very, very short amount of time.
And then you leave them for however long. It's just like, no, stay.
Especially when your teenager is being that hostile. Like, present a united front until things calm down, at least.
Yes. Yeah. So.
And then you can test the waters by going on a small trip.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
Think about your kids. Anyways.
I give it a 2.5.
Okay, we're not too far off. I'll keep my 3 then.
For the most part, their reactions were believable, and considering the lore, if we allow for that like we do for these kinds of movies, then for the most part it went along to its own rules.
Yes. Yeah.
That being said, there's a few things. First off, I'm calling bullshit on the kid going into the basement altogether.
Oh yeah, that's a creepy ass basement.
I don't care if it's daytime. That basement was dark as shit.
I wouldn't even go in there as an adult, let alone a kid.
So a kid, especially, she seemed kind of more the shy type too. The more hesitant type. Mm-hmm. I could see the teenager doing it.
Oh yeah,
just
like, I'm an edgy teen.
Yeah, more out of spite than anything. But the kid going into the basement, the dark ass basement, in an unfamiliar place, alone. I'm calling bullshit.
Oh yeah.
The neighbor lady was super freaking sus right off the bat.
Oh yeah,
and rude as hell.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, oh man, I forgot. But yeah, like her talking to the girl, I'm surprised that the stepmom didn't step up and be like, hey, like,
this is not your kid.
Yeah, like, I can't
back off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't talk to my kid like that.
Yeah.
Super freaking rude, lady.
And her weird obsession, like, I understand, like, she was a part of the situation that happened to the stepmom when she's a kid, but she's like, I don't know. It's like, why was she so freaking obsessed?
Yeah.
And they didn't really give her any reason. Like, for example, if she had seen, like, a glimpse of the thing that made, like, her dad crazy, and so that made her, like, crazy and obsessed, I could maybe...
She saw her go into...
Yeah.
The door.
And she's like, I should have been there or should have gone with you.
Yeah, should have gone with you. But she was too scared at the time. And she always regretted it, and it turned into an obsession. So that I can get.
Yeah.
That I can get. Some people are next level like that. I can see the neighbor boy being a jerk, a skis, and an idiot. That seemed fairly believable. I feel like they got the therapist to visit a little fast. Just a little bit. They could have gotten lucky, and she could have had an opening, but they had also moved I don't know how far away. And she was able to do a house call, like, the next day.
Also, it's pretty unusual for therapists to do house calls.
Yeah. Again, different kinds of therapists. Some, a lot nowadays, especially after COVID, do video chat.
Yeah.
Or phone call visits instead. It's whatever they feel most comfortable with. But it feels like the home visit, and I get that you would want to interact with the kid especially, like child therapists. It might be easier to be in person and also to get them to focus.
Yeah, well...
But it just seemed a little quick.
Well, and then talking about... I mean, I think they did a pretty good job representing a child therapist, but... As a child, I went through therapy, and I remember the therapist, like, yeah, there were sit down, like, talking sessions. There were also talking sessions with my parents along as me, but there's also, like, a lot of games where she'd be like, okay, here's a graphic about a particular, like a brain, for example, and it's like, okay, if you are feeling this way, or color what your brain feels like. And then she would kind of explore that, like, what does that color represent to you? And so it's like, it was like an interactive way to, like, keep me as a child, like, engaged. And so I kind of wish that they would have, I think that would have been kind of interesting, honestly, if they had, like, done something like that.
Would have, but I feel like for context, I think what they did was really well done.
Yeah. I'm not mad about how they did it at all. It's just more to, like, the realism of it.
And I do feel like it was fairly realistic and hilarious when she asked about new hobbies.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
That was well done. However, not going to touch on the fact that the voice mentioned her granddaughters when she likely never mentioned them to Alice.
Maybe she's like, oh, maybe she did an internet search or something. I don't know, but it's like, you can find out about people's lives. But yeah, I'm surprised she didn't bring that up, because to me, that would have been even creepier than the fact that, like, she wasn't. Because at least, like, you know, ventriloquism, yeah, that would explain it away, but she can't explain the fact of, like, how she knew about her granddaughters.
Yeah. Yep. Breaking HIPAA laws willy-nilly. That's cool.
Yep.
I did find it an interesting touch with the there is no bear thing. But they do have some holes with that for sure.
Yeah, it's like, I did enjoy that twist, but, like, think about it before you actually, like, enact it.
And you got to be consistent with it too. And also when they were having flashbacks of Jessica thinking back to all the time she had the bear, why was there a flash of her talking to the dude?
Sorry,
Jessica wasn't there for that. The neighbor dude.
Oh.
When he came over.
Oh.
Jessica wasn't there for that.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So if she's thinking back to all the times where she was carrying the bear, I mean, only show scenes that she was a part of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Let's see here.
I just see your note, bing bong, and then like the laughing emoji. I love it.
It always made me laugh throughout the movie every time.
Yeah, and she says it so seriously.
Yes.
I'm like, wow.
So for those of us that actually remember Inside Out and what a huge part Bing Bong was, the reference made sense. So the paint on her forehead not only looked like just a straight up brushstroke on there,
You made a note about it too.
but it also disappeared while she was on the staircase and came back the next scene.
Dang it, I missed that. Oh.
I had to back it up. I'm like, wait a minute. Did she like wipe off her face or something to go out and see them? Because she was acting kind of like a crazy lady going through that room and like repainting in various color paints. Pick a paint.
Yeah, all she was doing was painting over her previous.
Yes.
She didn't need to go
Pick
crazy with different
A
colors.
paint. You didn't need multiple colors. But yeah, it disappeared on the staircase, and then the very next scene when they're in the room talking all together, it's there again. I'm wondering why the imaginary world is so dark.
Like, you'd think it'd be like brighter to be more enticing.
A little
maybe?
bit, yeah.
Less scary.
Especially if it comes from kids' imaginations. Kids' imaginations, at least to me, feel more bright and vibrant.
Yeah.
They can imagine some scary shit, too.
But
they
their
can.
imaginations haven't been darkened by the cruel
They haven't been
world that we
tainted.
live in.
Not all of them, at least, have been tainted and jaded by this world.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. Well,
But it reminded me a lot of, like, the Hellraiser Labyrinth. The way they did it.
was that in the first movie?
I don't think so.
Okay, then that would be why I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking
Okay,
about.
yeah.
Yep.
But it did, for those of you that have seen what I'm talking about, am I wrong? There's a lot more like checkered, like white and black checkered tile and all, but it seems a little similar. I am curious to know, since it is by Blumhouse, if this is in the same universe as Insidious. Because if the red door equals bad part of the further, does the blue door equal imaginary plane? It's just very similar.
Yeah.
And somewhat similar rules.
Yeah.
It was not a shocker at all that the super sus lady was bad.
Insidious actually made by Blumhouse?
Yeah. Her death scene, though, is rather hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Like, she had been there pretty, like, recently, or she wasn't there for very long.
Yeah.
And she's just
They
like,
had
I
just
finally
got
here.
there.
And then
giant bear paw. Giant murder bear paw. Just grabs
yeah, that
her.
was pretty funny.
Oh my god, I was laughing so hard.
It was satisfying because of the fact that,
yes.
like, she screwed them up, but
Yes.
or screwed them over, but it's just, like... It was mostly funny though. It's like,
Yes.
wow, she spent decades of her life trying to
be
get
killed
there.
within the first minute or two.
Yeah, like what? Like, oh man,
Great job. Also, if this is the imaginary realm, shouldn't anything they imagine happen?
I was honestly hoping it'd be something along those lines, but they don't really. Like, honestly, like, I like the design of it, but it was very, like, funhousey. Like, the clouds above and the little lightning and stuff. I'm like, you can go to, like, a theme park or whatever, and that's exactly what.
You can get a lot of the stuff on Amazon now.
Yeah. So you
Like,
can
people
tell it was very low
do
budget.
kids' rooms like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the scene where they made the door was probably really fun to film. Just as a random note.
Where she's like ripping every.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was so
They got
fun
like
to do.
silly string. They got like cupcakes,
Yeah.
and we're just mashing stuff. That
I feel like,
seemed
it's
it
a
would
little
have been a lot of fun.
inefficient. I feel like they didn't need quite
But
as
that
many
wasn't the
items to-
point.
But yeah.
The point was rip up random stuff to make something new, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And they were doing it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how did Taylor get back through to save Jessica? The door was shut. And like they were showing the scene where they were both like beating on it and trying to get it open. So how did Taylor get back through? Right in the nick of time, by the way.
That's a good point.
To save Jessica.
And they really didn't seem to explain the rules very well on the door itself, because it's like, yeah, I understand you paint over it and the magic goes away, but they almost made it sound like as long as the door was still intact, then you could potentially go in or something could potentially come out. And that was the whole point in the painting over it. So it's like, it seems like they were bending the rules based off of like the scene and tension that they're trying to do.
It really felt like a movie's got a movie moment. There is no way, I looked it up, that they'd be able to use that paint after decades of it sitting there. Paint like that is only good for up to 10 years. I looked it up.
Well, but is that just because it won't have chunks in it? Because I know, like, paint congeals and gets chunky, and that's why you wouldn't want to paint, like, your walls with it, but it should still be, like, liquidy.
Not all of it.
Yeah, it'd be like...
A lot of it would be dried, and the vast majority of it would have been congealed. If there was anything left. So, no. Again, good luck explaining this to the insurance company and the dad. And also, if it's an imaginary friend, why the whole movie premise wouldn't have worked, because they said that it tried to bring Jessica to its world because she was leaving. Why was the imaginary friend tied to that specific place and not to her?
That's a good point. Yeah, they don't really establish why it was connected to that particular place. I mean, she is having nightmares. Like, obviously, like, I feel like their connection wasn't necessarily severed, or she is just extremely traumatized by it. But, yeah.
Could have been either or.
I didn't think about that.
But they said that because the dad was depressed and all, he wasn't able to care for the daughter, so she was leaving to go live with her grandmother. But that shouldn't affect the imaginary friend. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's leaving the imaginary friend and not believing in him altogether. The imaginary friend could obviously go with. So that part didn't really make any sense to me. Why it was tied to that specific house.
Yeah.
It's an imaginary friend. It can go anywhere. It's kind of the point.
Very true.
So yeah, that's what I got.
All right. Well, our timer behind us is slowly running out, so I'm just gonna say that overall, this is a decent imaginary friend horror movie, but definitely has faults that make it hard to be a go-to for me. So yeah,
that's
like
a fair
I said,
assessment. Yeah,
not mad if I watch it, but I'm not going to be.
It was decent, and I'd say it's worth at least one watch.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like imaginary horror friend or imaginary horror movies tend to like not be done very well, and this one is actually done fairly decently.
Yeah,
despite the flaws,
despite missed opportunities and some flaws. Yeah.
But thank you for joining us today, and let us know what you thought of the movie. If you'd like to recommend a movie, game, or tea, you can leave us a comment or join our Discord. And if you'd like to keep up to date with our content, you can find our link tree listed below.
And if you'd like to support us monetarily, we have a Teespring and PayPal, or we have our affiliate link with Republic of Tea available. It does not affect the price of the tea, it just allows us to continue to do what we love. And you can find all of the sites mentioned linked below. But until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye!
Bye.